People often want to know, can you prune a lemon tree? Well, if it's looking okay, you don't really need to. But in this case, you can see that this whole tree is looking a bit ungainly. Always take out the dead or diseased or crossing over branches. And see all those long, leggy bits up there? They're getting too high, and if there's fruit up there, it's going to be pretty hard to harvest. I'm now going to get into the centre of the tree and just clear it out a little bit for better air circulation. I'm going to take this big one out here. Ooh, that's a doozy. You can see right in there into the centre of the tree is clear and open. It's perfect for a fruit tree because it leads to less fungus diseases, nice air movement through it. Now, you can see where the branch has been crossing over and it's caused that markings like that. It's best to take this branch out. Well, there you go, job's done. And that's all that tree needs for a bit more encouragement to get bushier. And all I have to do is pick up some of these lovely lemons. Never be afraid of pruning.
Many fruit and nut trees like apples, pears and almonds need a partner planted nearby for pollination. The more compatible trees you have in an area, the more pollinators you're enticing in and the more pollen you have, so therefore a bigger crop. Self-fertile varieties will produce all by themselves, but even they benefit from having a mate around. Now here at the patch, space really isn't an issue, but in a smaller garden, getting 2 or more trees in can be a bit tricky. But one way around this is by duo planting. That's putting 2 trees in the one hole. I've got 2 healthy young cherry trees to put in, and you'll notice they're roughly about the same size, which means that they'll grow well together. Now, when digging your hole, make sure it's deep enough, obviously, but you need to make it wide enough to cope with both root zones. Now, when you're planting, consider the shape. Both these trees have a flat side and a bowed side. And if I were to put them in that way, well, you can see the problem. So they go in that way. And when you put them in, the trunks need to be no closer than 15 centimetres apart. And a good little tip is to angle the trunks out. It gives them a nice form and stops them from growing into each other. I'm just slowly backfilling just to get a bit of dirt in there to give those trees some stability. And once they can stand up by themselves, I'll start to play with the shape. And then just finish backfilling. When it comes to pruning, unlike a double-grafted tree, where the vigour tends to be lopsided and one side will overshadow the other, so therefore need hard cutting, due to the competition, the vigour is more controlled in duo plantings. The pruning you do need to do, though, is to keep the centre clear, which will prevent crossing branches and allow sun and air through.
What is a callus? A callus is where you've cut a plant to take a cutting, like in propagating, and the callus is just like a bit of a scab over the base of the cutting where you've wounded it, and that just forms quite quickly, and it's where the roots will develop from.
Kiwi fruit, a plant that gets its name because its fruit resembles a small flightless bird, although I don't think it would taste like one. Now, these plants were planted about 4 years ago. These are the females here and the male is up the back there. They've been doing really well, but last year they had inconsistent and poor quality fruit. Now, I suspect it's because there's too much fruit on these plants, so I'm gonna thin them out, and the best way to do that is a winter maintenance prune. Now, just to take you through a rundown of the plant, you've got your main trunk at the base, and then you've got these main laterals that in this case are brought up and supported horizontally. But these bits here, these are the important bits. These are the fruiting sites. And what I think's happened is you've got a small bit of wood here and you've got 3 fruiting sites on it. Now, what it's trying to do is put too much fruit on at the expense of quality. And the way to do this is to singulate to one fruiting site. I've got a weaker one here, I've got a really strong one here, and I've got a nice healthy one there. So the way I'm going to do that is snap off the weak one and cut off this vigorous one. Now that that's been singulated, the next thing to take into account is the spacing between your fruiting sites. A good rule of thumb is a hand span. That's pretty good. That's all right there. That's good. That one can come out. That one can get singulated. And that one's good there. Now, you need to keep in mind that kiwi fruit can grow up to 6 metres in 1 year. So I'm going to have to come back through and give this a good summer prune and take all that long whippy growth off. That said though, I reckon come the autumn, we're going to have a cracker crop of kiwi fruit right here.
When and how hard can I prune back a gelatin wax? Well, waxes can take a really hard prune, and it's best to do a little bit each year to encourage that really bushy growth. Pruning should be done at the end of the flowering, but they also look fantastic in a vase, so why not prune them while they're flowering and enjoy these inside and out.